I wouldn't dream of taking up any more of your time. I merely wanted to thank you all.
Yeah.
And as I said before, I hadn't intended to make a speech at all.
But you certainly succeeded.
Why did you stop updating your XYZ playlist?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably made that for a few friends and then forgot about it. I'm always making new playlists, so I'll keep updating it because that's a good one.
I
Also, like, there's so many issues with Spotify right now, and I'm like, I really need to, get everything off of Spotify and like move it to Apple Music or Tidal. But it's hard, right? When you're used to it's like I'm using a MacBook for how many years? For 20 years now, and to switch to a new program to a Windows is just gonna feel clunky. But so yeah, there's like moral reasons, but then also I've just been lazy and forgot.
realistically the music distribution ecosystem we have now seems like it's almost all pretty terrible. I mean, there's like
Yeah,
Bandcamp, which seems like a good thing, but it
yeah,
seems like you just have to pick like which awful corporation you want to be in bed with. Like, I guess
yeah.
how do you try and deal with that as a musician? Like, obviously, I'm not trying to say it's your responsibility or anything, but like, it feels like it would be a I don't know. You get what I'm saying.
No, I totally get it. It's hard. It's like probably the hardest time. I mean, in some ways, it's like the easiest time to be a musician because you have access to everything. You can learn everything, mixing records yourself. You can do everything with a laptop from your bedroom. You can put music out. You don't need a record label. You can do it yourself. Social media is there if you're really good at that, at promoting yourself. But it's also just so hard because there's so much saturation that it becomes really overwhelming for a lot of artists, myself included, to feel like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of putting out art or putting out music? It's just going to get lost in everything else, and if you're not really good at learning about the SEO and the algorithms I mean, it's like we're not content creators, we're artists. So I think that's like a perpetual battle. Um, in my mind, I did start a Substack because I think a few of the artists that I really admire, I noticed they had Substacks, and it just felt like a way to kind of get to know them a little bit on a more personal level. And I think that that's what your fans want, right? Like people that connect with you musically and artistically, they want to know you as a person also. And I think if you can find ways to do that, that's not necessarily like, yo, man, what's up? Like, check out my whatever, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok videos. I like writing. I've always liked writing. So I started a Substack to try to like connect with people more one on one. And then, like, I'll talk about my life or like what recipes I'm trying or like what book I'm reading. And then at the end of it, I'll be like, and here's some show dates that I have, and here's a new release that I have, like this is also, um, yeah, but maybe not so just like blatantly like self um, indulged promotion. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's a weird career.
I think I've heard other people say something similar, that it does seem like a very kind of dispiriting time to be releasing music, into the what feels like a void. And I mean, I'll just speak from like personal experience. Putting out like interviews or whatever, like view count numbers don't mean like anything to me at all.
Mhm.
Like occasionally, like my friend Hans will tell me like, oh, I liked this one, or ask me about it. I'm like, oh, that's sick. I love that. But like, I don't really give a shit how many views it gets. I mean, I guess to some extent I do because I want to be able to keep doing this. But like, I
Yeah.
I'm much more interested in like how people personally feel about it. I guess like when you put out a record, what what would you like to get back from your audience or from people listening to it? Like in a dream world.
I mean, I think that the dream is to just kind of like inspire people, artists, creatives, not artists, regular ass people, like the way that like I've been inspired by hearing some of the greats, like actually a lot of people on that playlist, the XYZ playlist, like it's like I try to keep it a little more underground and artists that people might not really know, but who have really like whoa, they're doing some really innovative stuff, and it's like feels really raw and really real. And those are the artists that push me to keep going. Like the ones who just like they cut through the noise, you know, and they're just like unapologetically like they're there to make art, not to make content, not to like, you know, not to be entertainers. I mean, you need all those things too, right? But I think the, you know, feeling is a sense of like edginess is really important to me. And so I hope that the music that I'm going to, you know, releasing and will continue to release has some element of like, oh, she's like pushing, like reaching for something that's like new, that's a little bit different, that doesn't sound like, you know, cookie cutter pop or whatever. It's like, yeah. So, because I mean, ultimately, it's like, it's about what legacy you leave behind. Like we're all here for a limited time on this planet, so it's like what do we want to be known for? You know, it's like what do we want to leave behind?
Anyways, but I noticed you had 4 different Machine Girl songs on that XYZ playlist, and I'm just curious if you could tell me a little bit about how you got introduced to them and like maybe how it's at with you, that music.
To Machine Girl, like the
Yeah, they
artist
have
Machine.
like
Yeah,
yeah, like Bitten Twice and Vomit, for example, and like Sad
yeah.
Clowns.
Machine Girl I discovered through my good friend Jason Lindner, who's a great synth player that lives in New York City. And he's kind of like involved in this sort of like mutant underground New York, Bushwick, Ridgewood scene. And I'm pretty sure that's how I discovered Machine Girl. But yeah, I mean, Machine Girl's, I mean, talk about edgy. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going for it, you know, like it's so raw. I love that, you know. I mean, that's what art, it's all about human expression.
Yeah. I'm curious. Do you have any advice for young musicians trying to find a dominatrix on Craigslist?
Why you really, you dug deep. Um, that's a very funny question. Yeah, go for it. There's a lot, man, especially in like big cities like New York and LA, man, there's a lot of stuff on Craigslist. And there, and everyone, like there's always people who are like hungry for work. And you know, dominatrix is just a gig worker, just like you and me. Like, okay, I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut, you know what I'm saying? So, but that was a really funny um experience where I guess you're referring to when I shot a music video for a song called Video Game Song. And the guy that was a friend of mine who I was like, oh, you want to direct this music video? We had worked together before, named Tom. And he was like, yeah, I just started working for TED, like TED Talks, like TEDx, you know, and maybe we could sneak in, sneak in one night after hours. We did. And yeah, and I needed like these sort of sexy people, so I hired a dominatrix on Craigslist. She was great. She did a great job. And yeah, and we shot this whole video in this like office space, and we had to blur out all the TED, you know, the TEDx logos that were everywhere and cut them out of the scenes. But yeah, that was very fun.
Can you tell me a bit about the look you had for that music video? It was such a striking thing. It was like I don't know if it was literally latex, but it looks like a black latex jacket, and you had this like crazy
Yeah.
orangish like fish flake looking like eye shadow or whatever you call it. How did that
Yeah,
come
yeah,
about?
yeah. Yeah, that's right. It definitely was a lot of latex. You know, the inspiration for that song or for that video was kind of like just kind of like a like throwing this idea around of about like women not being like victims for things, but instead like embracing sexuality as, you know, a source of empowerment. And you know, I know plenty of women who have like used sex to get what they want. I mean, including many friends of mine who have had like sugar daddies. I mean, sex workers, I totally admire them. I think it's a really cool form of work. And um yeah, and so I think that song was kind of just playing into this idea that like no, like women, we're empowered, we're not victimized all the time, like we have this power and we should use it. So there was this kind of like, yeah, and then you see it often in the other form, right, where it's like the male CEO is trying to like trying to get with this worker, and then they'll, whatever. So it's like the other way where it's like, no, we're going to use our power to get what we want. It was a really fun video.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've been trying. Well, I'm interviewing. Oh God, this is like a thread with me in interviews that I can never remember any names. I don't know why, but that part of my brain is just off. Ruby, I believe Darlington, who's a dancer in LA. She's my next
Oh,
interview.
cool.
Which like I'm so stoked to do because I've always wanted to
Oh,
interview. I don't know if she really call herself a sex worker, but like I've always wanted to do interviews in that space. And
yeah.
dude, it's so funny. Like reaching out to like OnlyFans models or whatever is so hard because like that infrastructure is not set up for people to send in like inquiries. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
funny. Yeah.
It is set up for like dudes to be like, ugh, whatever. Um,
Right.
so it's
Right.
really
Right.
it's really fucking hard to do, but uh, yeah, I don't know. I totally get what you're saying. I feel like it is such a, I don't know. I think it is, important, admirable, whatever word you want to use. I feel like it's a very underrated profession and a very understudied profession. But um, in any event,
Yeah. I mean, there was a time, not to cut you off,
no,
like a few years ago when I guess it was kind of, the Me Too movement was really big and stuff, which I have total respect for. I'm glad that all these things are coming to light. But I remember someone was asking me if I would be part of this like exhibit in New Orleans of like women in the music industry who have been like, have experienced sexism and who have been underpaid and things like that. And I was like, I don't really like know because sure it happens. Like people assume that I don't know what an XLR cable is, and like sound guys are being dicks, or like they'll assume that like whatever, if I have a boyfriend with me that's carrying a synthesizer, they assume that it's his gig and I'm just the girlfriend, and it's like, no, this is my gig and he's my roadie. But it's like, okay, of course it happens, but I don't know. I'm also of the belief that like we all just have to like rise above all of that, and like I'm not really into identity politics, and like I just think it's like, we have to kind of break out of all of that and realize we're all humans, and we're all just trying to like be a cool person.
yeah, I mean, I get what you mean. Like I've had, well, I don't get what you mean. I've not had that experience, but I have. I can relate in my own way, I suppose. Like, I have my own experiences like mental illness and different kinds of things, and like, I don't know, I don't mind talking about it, but it's like, I, I don't, I don't want to be like, oh, well, he did well considering, it's like
Mm,
that doesn't interest me that
right.
much,
Right.
like, I don't know, it's uncomfortable being put in the box of like, it just feels kind of like demeaning or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Oh yeah, can I still get a Tuesday night Sasha if I ask Dimitri?
Oh, a Tuesday night, Sasha, if you ask Dimitri. Wait, I know you might have lost me with that one. What's a Tuesday night, Sasha?
I
Who's
believe
Dimitri?
oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce it. The Gasa Gasa bar, something to that effect.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Did I have,
You
yeah,
used
I
to
mean,
have a cocktail there, didn't you?
oh, that's so funny. I guess I did. I don't really drink much, so if I, if I did, I don't remember. But actually, okay, so Tuesday nights we had I used to run this music series called Progression Music Series, and Tuesday nights it was at this club called Gasa Gasa, and I loved it. And so many of my projects kind of evolved on that stage, and I would write songs and try them out at this music series, and I would have like friends or touring bands come in, and it was great. It was like the Tuesday night takeover at Gasa Gasa. There was also back in the day, I didn't know if what you were talking about, because there's also like a strip club in New Orleans called Deja Vu, which used to have $2 Tuesdays on Bourbon Street. And on Tuesdays, like you could go and get top shelf alcohol. Like everything was $2. Like you had to pay $5 to get in. And this is like way back in the day. So, but everyone would hang out there, like all the jazz musicians in town. Like it'd be like Tuesday night, let's go to Deja Vu. And we, it was just the cheapest place to drink was at the strip club on Bourbon Street. So I was like, are you referencing that or? But yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Tuesday, I love Tuesdays. Tuesday's always my favorite. Like, it's my favorite night to go out. It's like if I'm playing a show, I want it to be on a Tuesday. For some reason, I love Tuesdays. It's also like the weekdays or the nights that like musicians and industry workers, they're going out on the weekdays, right? And then like the tourists come out on the weekends. That's when we all go into hiding, or we play gigs for money. Like corporate events.
We mentioned, I guess you talked a little bit about, the sense of justice and everything in terms of video game song. I guess switching gears slightly, what punishment do you think is fitting for the people who stole your 90s CD booklet?
Oh, that was so sad. Oh man, you going digging deep. Yeah, that was so sad. The first time I went into California on tour, we got our tour van broken into in San Francisco, as everyone does, but I guess we were too young to know that like you cannot leave anything in your car in San Francisco. Um, but someone stole my it was like a jean, it looked like a jean jacket was the case of my like 90s CD booklet, which had all my I recently found this like Tony Braxton album again with Unbreak My Heart. And I was like, oh, I love that. That was a good one. And Britney Spears and Boyz II Men and all these things. So yeah, that guy definitely deserves the worst place in hell. Like that's the worst crime because you stole a piece of my childhood.
Going into the music end of things a little bit more. I know the bass line in God, Death Grips in Disneyland, I believe, was inspired by a dream. I'm curious, how often do dreams play into, your songs, whether it be lyrics or the
Yeah.
musical aspects?
Yeah, like quite frequently actually. Sometimes I'll have like music ideas that come to me in a dream, and if I can force myself to wake up out of it and like grab my phone and take a quick voice recording, then that's cool because then like I'll capture it, and then the next day be like, oh, cool. But then if I'm too tired or deep in my sleep, then it goes away, or maybe it comes back out in like real life, and I just don't put the connections together. But I tend to write a lot about my dreams, and a lot of those ideas will turn into seedlings for like song, like kind of absurdist like song or lyric ideas. I was just working on one called literally like an hour ago. I'm working on this record with this incredible musician in New Orleans, Rex Gregory, and I had this dream about like turning into a white noise machine. Like I was somebody's like shh, and I was there like shh, and then it turned into this like weird underwater seascape thing, and there was this like sea anemone, and it was like coming to my like it was just like luring me with its sea anemone fingers. So I wrote this whole like poem about it, which will turn into like this kind of spoken word thing on this album that we're gonna release hopefully soon. But yeah, so I love using like dream material, and it's so weird and it's so cool, and like it's way cooler than anything I can normally come up with.
Well, I guess on that idea, voice memos and adding, I guess it's not related at all, but I'm transitioning to another question. Something that I've heard you mention, and I think is very unique about you as, Trash Magnolia as a DJ, is that there's, I think, a lot more space in your songs than is typical for, I mean, any other electronic music I've heard. And I have a little bit of a theory on this, if you'll humor me. Because and I think this is correct. I believe you started as a singer before you were a DJ. Is that fair?
Mhm.
Um, and I guess when I think about like vocals, live vocals and everything, there are very few times I've heard it be like mixed well.
Mm,
Offhand, the only one I can think of is Olivia Rodrigo, in
mm,
terms of live performance. Because most of the
mhm,
time, it's just like the instruments are taking up all the space and the voice like barely
mhm,
comes through. Do you think
mhm.
is it possible that there's like a subconscious part of your mind that is like if it's super noisy, you just feel like the vocals aren't going to come through. So maybe a part of it's just like, ooh, that doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah. You mean, are you talking about in reference to where my vocals sit in mixes generally?
Well,
Or
I'm thinking like I'm just putting myself in your shoes. I'm thinking like, well, Sasha was coming up as a singer, and then I feel like
Mhm.
if you were to hear like a wall of sound like a Machine Girl song, I imagine that
Mhm.
subconsciously you would be like, well, my voice isn't going to fit in that, so that's maybe not quite right for me. So do you think it's possible
Mm.
that you like add space into songs because you're used to?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and oftentimes when I'm collaborating with other artists, because I do a lot also of like free improvisation music, and if there's not space for the vocals, I don't do anything. Like I'm not going to try to like insert myself if I don't think that there's space. And so I've literally done like free improvised concerts where I basically sit in silence on the stage the entire time for the whole whatever hour, 75-minute set, because I don't feel like anyone was giving me space to create something. And so and that's fine. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like maybe they were like, well, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know, I just wasn't hearing anything. And I just feel like that's like more honest than trying to insert myself and be like, yeah, like, but I mean, I can also like find ways to play with effects and like throw some distortion and like, an octave pedal and then like get weird. But I think it's like it has to be like serving the once again, like I just wanted to like serve the art and be honest. And if the honest thing is like, well, you guys are playing too fucking much, shut the fuck up and give me like some space to like actually sing, then that's what it is. Like people gotta learn. And if the only way for them to learn is with me, sitting quietly for an hour, then like, okay, that's what you gotta do. But most of the improvisers that I work with are really great improvisers and great listeners, and they understand like, okay, like it's a call in, or so it's a two-way conversation. Like they listen for what I'm gonna say, they respond to it, I listen to what they're saying, I respond to it, and we like have this like musical dialogue. So
Next time that you go to China, are you finally going to play My Heart Will Go On?
no, never. Unless I go as a DJ, maybe. If they pay me a lot of money, then I'll throw it in a DJ set. But man, yeah, China's a wild place. And Hotel California, that's the other one they love out there. They used to live out there. Yeah.
I unrelated entirely. Excuse me. You know, I've heard you tangentially reference video games in terms of video game song, and then also,
Mm.
I believe like, oh gosh, like 10 years ago, I think you went to a party like dressed as Zelda or something. I'm just curious. I've never heard you like be asked about it or talk about it. Do you have any like favorite video games you can share, or are you a big video game person at all?
No, I'm actually not. Video game song was I don't know why it was just like a reference title because of the intro, which has this like weird like downward arpeggio like and it just sounded like the intro to like a Mario Kart or something like that. And then that was just, and then the title just stuck, and then like I never knew what else to call it, and people are like, just keep video games, cool. Um, so no, actually I'm not. I was never like a big, I mean, I think when I was a kid I would play like, I don't know, fucking Donkey Kong, but like I never was a big gamer. I
Yeah.
respect it though. I mean, I know there's a lot of amazing music that comes out of that world. And I have friends that are really into gaming, and then they write music for video games and stuff like that. But no, not, not
Would you,
particularly.
excuse me, would you ever be interested in doing like maybe well, either soundtrack work or scoring work? And if so, is there like a kind of project that you'd be most interested in?
Yeah, definitely. I've done a little bit. I've done like scoring for some sort of like short films or like mini documentaries. Um yeah, I would love to do more of that. I guess I don't know, the ideal would be probably like I don't even know. I was gonna say like something like just like I don't know, like a film noir, like kind of beautiful and like set in like the 60s in Paris or something like, but it could also be like like a dumb comedy, or I could just like throw in a bunch of like bounce beats and make it silly. And it would, yeah, definitely. I mean,
Or I guess
Yeah.
maybe another way to ask that is are there any like particular artists or type of artists that you'd be interested in collaborating with in that context?
Oh,
Like in film, like directors you'd love to
in
work with or that
film.
kind of thing.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Film directors I'd love to work with.
It's tough to think of on the spot, isn't it? That's always
It
the
is
thing.
tough. Um,
Or like
what is
I know you're a fan of like Trent and Atticus, for example. Like is there
yeah,
any sort of like score work they've done that you're like, "Oh, that's interesting," you know, maybe how could I have done that or that kind of thing or like
yeah,
they
yeah,
did that
yeah.
kind of movie, that kind of thing, you know.
This guy, I want to make sure I'm getting his name right. Oh, Todd, here it is. Todd Solondz, Solondz. He did this movie in 1998 called Happiness.
Oh
Um,
God, yeah. I've never
yeah.
seen it. It looked too like hard for me to watch, but I
No,
know it, yeah.
it's really weird and so funny, and it's kind of this like dark, like Philip Seymour Hoffman is in it, and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's got this just like weird. I really like kind of like dark comedies that have like a humanist or surrealist like tinge to them. So I think that could be really fun because then you can really play into these like eerie like silences and these like a lot prolonged scenes where you're just kind of watching the wheels spinning in someone's mind, and that person might be a psychopath, and it's like, well, how do you put music to that, you know, like how do you add to that with like a musical element? I think that would be so super fun.
So I guess what I'm hearing is that you'd maybe be like most interested in doing like maybe not a genre film, but like something that is like so emotionally extreme that it like almost becomes genre. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it could be for sure. I think so. I think it's like, I don't know, I think I'm really fascinated by like human emotion and expression or non-expression, and I think like really good actors are just so great at like um proving a point without saying many things, you know, like they don't have to say a word and it's like you know exactly what they're thinking, you know. And I think the same would go for music, right? Like how do you take the least amount of notes possible and get a feeling across, you know, in like in just a very like minimalist, like understated way. I think that would be really fun.
You know, this is a completely unrelated thing, but can you tell me at all about the experience of being painted by Heidi Elbers?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I love Heidi. Yeah, that was God, what year was that? That must have been 2017. Heidi is a phenomenal painter and and a good friend of mine. She lives in New York City, but we knew each other from New Orleans. And yeah, I don't know. It was really sweet. It was like the first time I had ever done anything like that, and um, and she just made me feel so comfortable and natural, and it was really cool. And then later it was displayed at a gallery, and then I went and I was like, "Ah, that's me." It was great. Heidi's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, how do those things go? Like, do you say like, hey, maybe try and make me look this way, or I want this certain kind of emotion, or do you just kind of let her do it?
No, it was more like her, like she needed models for this collection, you know, and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and I said, yeah, of course, I'd love to. So it was really like it wasn't really me asking like, oh, can you paint me because I want to use it for album
Yeah,
art or something.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was just like, yeah, like I'm, you know, sure, I'm happy to pose for you.
You know, one of the things I love doing, I didn't get a chance to do for this interview, but like I'll look at someone's letterboxed or whatever. I don't think you have a letterboxed. If you do, I couldn't find it. But and I'll look at like their top four favorite films or whatever and try and watch them to
Mm.
prep questions on that. So
Oh,
I wasn't
cool.
able to do that for you, but just
No,
if
go
I
ahead.
had been able to, are there any particular movies that would have been like, oh, you gotta check this out?
Oh, movies. Oh man, God, these are hard questions. It's funny. Everyone who like knows me knows that like Sasha does not. She's like the worst with like watching movies. I mean, definitely this one, Happiness. Um,
And it's fine
there's
if there's not an answer. There's no that's
no, I
totally
know.
fine.
It's. I mean, there are definitely like must be answers. I'm just,
Well,
you
tell you
know.
what, like if I were to come up to you and be like, Sasha, I only have 2 hours to get to know you, and I feel like watching a movie right now. What should I check out?
That's a good question. Um, oh man, I don't know. I guess I'd probably, I mean, just because it's on the top of my mind, I'd probably go with that movie Happiness that I was telling you about. It's
Yeah.
so it's like just so weird, and like every character is like a little bit relatable in like the weirdest way. And yeah.
What do you recall of your of the Trash Magnolia bio you made for that jazz vocal competition?
Um, I oh, I recall the feeling of being like I moved. I had just moved to New York at that time. I grew up in New Orleans, right? Born and raised. And I had just filmed a commercial for a very famous attorney in New Orleans, this guy named Chip Forstall. And it's one of those like internet memes that's like, you made it in New Orleans when you've done a blah, 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 blah. And one of them is a Chip Forstall commercial. And I mean, I was on the side of a bus, like a New Orleans city bus. Like my commercial was getting so much airplay. Everyone like I go to the grocery store, you're the girl from the Chip Forstall commercial, whatever, like crazy. I got an honorary. I don't know if I wrote this somewhere, but like that strip club I mentioned with the $2 Tuesdays. When I went one night, on a Tuesday, they were like, "Oh, you're the girl from the Chip Forstall commercial," and then they gave me an honorary VIP membership card so that, like, for the next year, I could go any night that I wanted and get cheap drinks, which was great, and very funny. But anyway, I was kind of like, okay, like this is great. I'm doing really well in New Orleans. Like I'm making good money with gigs. Like after the commercial, I was able to like put an extra zero on all of my, private party gigs, which was amazing. But I was also like, there must be more. Like, I'm not like, is this like my peak? Like, okay, I did this cheesy commercial for this lawyer, and like, and now what? Um, so I moved to New York. Yeah, I had like enough savings, and I was like, I'm just gonna fucking go for it. And the reason I went to New York was to really try to like pursue my own music, like pursue Trash Magnolia. At a time, I had another band called Hildegard, and it was like, and I just wanted to like see how far I could go with that music. But like the jazz world kept like sucking me back in, and so like I had quickly like had this guy that wanted to be my manager and knew I was a great jazz singer, and said, I want you to apply for this, Sarah Vaughan vocal jazz competition. I know you would do well. I know some of the judges personally, like we're gonna get you in. I was like, okay. So I went through the whole thing and was like, this just I don't like competition in music. Like music is not a competition. Music is about being an individual, like not having an ego, learning how to like create with others, learning about yourself and what makes you unique and different, and not like I'm going to compete with this singer and that singer and I can scat better than her and I can hit this note better than her. It's like I just don't like it. So I went through the whole thing, and I submitted my songs, and then but I just didn't feel, yeah, it was like, I can't remember, there was some corporate sponsor, and it was like a popularity contest, and I would have to get all of my fans and friends to sign up for, I don't know, Live Nation or something like that, and make an email with them, and then log in, and then just to vote for me. And it just felt so cringy, and I was like, no, this is stupid. Like, I'll submit all the songs. They wanted a ballad, they wanted like an up-tempo swing, blah blah blah, but I'm not going to put my name on this. So that's where I created what would become Trash Magnolia, just because I thought it was funny and kind of like a fuck you to the jazz industry. And I wrote this bio about like, growing up in the muddy banks of the Mississippi River and blah blah blah, and like, eating street beets for breakfast or something. And of course, I did not get into the competition. And the guy that was my manager was like, "Did you enter under a pseudonym?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe." And he was like, "Why did you do that? You had a good chance, but they all felt like you were like spitting in their face." And I was like, "Well, I guess I was a little bit. Sorry." Um, so, but out of that, like, Trash Magnolia was born. I have no regrets. Like, you know, yeah, music is so individualistic, and there's some people who are great at like competing and like in that energy, and I just, that was never, I'm not a very competitive person. I'm like, look, like, you do you, baby, I'm gonna do me. and just like build my own little world and like make art. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it certainly worked out for you. And in my experience, like it just doing interviews and talking to people, it seems that most managers, I'm sure there are exceptions, but most managers seem to be fucking idiots. Um, and like if someone wants you to like just be a completely different person in order to succeed, they probably be a shitty manager for you. So,
Yeah.
you know, worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Um, You know, I was not able to prep like very specific questions on this because I'm just not super familiar. But for someone like me who's new to it, where should I start with like Brazilian music? Is there a place to dive in,
Mm.
somewhere you could easily say like, oh, you can just jump in with this one?
Like with one album
Album, artist,
specifically?
song, whatever jumps out to you.
Oh my gosh. Probably the Stan Getz and João Gilberto classics with Ashley Gilberto on it. That's probably the number one. Also Milton Nascimento, the early Milton records are just so good. Um, Sergio Mendes, anything Jobim. For me, there's a Jobim record called Passarim that was like one of my favorites as a child, and I think some of those songs are just stunning, and his songwriting is so beautiful. I mean, you can really hear the this sort of merge from classical music into jazz into bossa nova and like kind of like follow this lineage, you know, down to Jobim. So that would probably be I think Passarim by Antonio Carlos Jobim would be the one for me. It's really good.
So just from what I've read, it seems that like the study of binaural beats is still in kind of its infancy or is still developing. And I'm just curious, for you, is there like an effect that they have on you?
I'm sorry, for with what?
Binaural
The
beats,
normal.
like the different frequencies in the ears.
Oh, I mean, yes and no. I don't know that much about binaural beats, to be honest. Like, uh, I just try to find beats that make people want to twerk. So if they have the twerk frequency, then like that's great. I was just pitching someone. I was like talking to this festival director recently, and he was asking me what kind of music I DJ, and I was like, I don't even know. I love DJing so much. I don't fucking know all these genres. Like, I don't know what this is called and what this is called and what this is versus this and this is UK garage and this is blah blah. Like, I literally don't know. Does it make you want to pussy pop? If so, great. It's part of my playlist. You know, like, okay, good. Is it cool? Is it interesting? Is it like that's like killer hook? That's like a killer. There's some like interesting harmonies going on. Whoa, even better. Like, bring it. But yeah. So all that to say,
That's fine.
I don't
Yeah.
really pay too much attention to, yeah, the sound science of things.
I guess like this sounds like a salacious question. I guess to some extent it is, but I do think there is a lot of sexuality, especially in your DJ kind of stuff. Like when you're making something to that effect, I guess like I'll just ask this directly, but like do you just like hope people have like sex while they listen to your music? Is that kind of the idea?
Sure. I mean, yeah, that would be great. Definitely. Yeah, that's probably the ultimate end goal. Music for sex. Someone actually told me I should consider that as an album name for the next Trash Magnolia record, which I have like so many great songs that I'm slowly working my way towards completion. But someone was like, just call it music for sex. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I do think that there's something so that pulls me towards like the femininity in music and the softness and the sort of sultriness of it and like the yeah. So I'm definitely drawn to those elements within music and then within my own music and producing and even like if I'm making beats for people, like I want all of that to come across, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
definitely music for sex.
when you're doing DJ sets, I've exclusively seen really shitty DJ sets. And like to the extent that until recently I just thought all DJs sucked because it's just that thing of like just hit play and then like and the music's really boring and like and I have
Mm-hmm.
to just like get drunk until I can pretend I like it. But anyways, I've just hearing you talk about DJing it, in previous interviews and in this one, it is very clear to me that you have a galactically different mindset on this than the DJs I've experienced. But just for you personally, as the person behind the desk or whatever, how do you keep it interesting for yourself as a DJ?
Oh, I mean, I get bored so easily. So with songs, even if they're great songs, like if I've played them a few times on my sets, even if the sets are for completely different audiences and for whole new people in different cities, I I can't get bored with it. Like it has to be new for me. So I'm constantly seeking new music, like always on the hunt. I always try to go out and hear DJs that I love, especially in LA. There's so many great DJs here. And I'm sitting there, and even if, and yes, you're right, there's something to be said about like drugs and alcohol and DJ. Like they go hand in hand. But as someone who's like a little more on the sober field these days, um, even if I'm going to a DJ event and I'm sober as fuck, but if the DJ is good, it doesn't matter. Like you're in it and you're there, and then I'm there shazamming half of the songs, being like, "What the fuck is this? This is so sick." And then finding those artists, and then finding other artists through those artists. I mean, there's like so much good music out there, and like electronic artists that are really like making great dance music. So yeah, for me personally, it's like it's just keeping it fresh, and like and also just finding creative ways to like mash songs up together. I think like some of the best DJs like pay no attention to like tempos. Like they'll be at something that's like, 140, and then they'll drop into a bounce beat for, that's like 99, and you're like, what? How do we go here? But it's just like, oh, it like feels really good because there's such a tempo shift, and then they'll go back into some drum and bass shit at like 160. And I just think that's so cool. And then like all of a sudden, like bam, they'll put on like a Dolly Parton song, and you're like, what? Like it's just so fun. I think it's just like being playful, and being like, okay, look, the crowd is gonna go on this journey with me. Like we're gonna have fun together. It doesn't have to be whatever. And like playing for yourself and not necessarily like, you know, like just I'm like, oh no, the crowd only wants techno. Like, oh, I have to only play techno. I know a lot of people feel that, especially in Berlin. They feel like they can only play techno, but I don't know. I think just like if you're gonna have fun, then the audience is gonna have fun.
It's funny when you mention like hearing you talk about creativity is so cool because it's such a completely different thing than like it is for me. Not that like I don't know if I necessarily consider myself competitive in like an interpersonal sense. Like, I definitely like every time I listen to like Nine Inch Nails, for example, I'm always like, well, how can I make something better than this? You know, in whatever context it is, and like certainly that doesn't mean I have any less respect for like Trent and Atticus, certainly not. But um, I think like when I think about just hearing you describe that story, it comes to mind. Are you an anime person at all? It's fine if not. The story will make sense either way.
A little bit, but not. Yeah.
There's this my favorite like show piece of fiction ever is this soccer anime called Blue Lock. And there's this great moment in season two where Atoshi Ren is there doesn't they're in a big match and like Atoshi Ren has been the best person and like the facility's been training him this entire time and then finally the team is like catching up with him and he gets this moment of like realizing this is the first time in his life that people have like been able to play alongside him and it just invokes this like fury in his mind and he turns into a monster and is like fuck you, I don't need any of you, and then he just starts like going upfield all on his own and like I this again sounds so egotistical and it definitely is, but um there's this great moment where he's like drawing out the strengths of like every single defender he's going up against, like he's getting them to showcase their strength and then just like crushing it, like dude that's so sick. um
That's cool.
but I think the thing about that is like to me it's like if you get an audience that only wants fucking techno, it's like well fuck you, you're not gonna get it, and you're still gonna like it. um I don't know, I love that shit and that's not yeah, different vibe, but I don't know, I
Yeah, I
love
mean,
that.
and you might not ever get hired again. Like, okay, like that might be the, it's like you do have to play to the crowd to a certain extent, I mean, but it's, I don't know, at a certain point, like the less fucks you give, like the better, like the more then you're going to become like who you are. And then people are going to start like hiring you because of you. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And like honestly, if I ever end up, I have nowhere near the skill, whatever, to do this now. At some point in my life, I would love to try like DJ sets or something. And like honestly, as I sit here, my goal would be like to try and get the entire like club to want to kill me. That's like that would mean like I did a good job in my mind. That I don't
Great.
know. That sounds very fun to me.
Yeah,
Um,
you can definitely do that. I remember I was closing out a party a few years ago during Mardi Gras. And at this point, I had been DJing for 6 hours straight and I was tired. And the people just kept wanting to go, even though the party was supposed to shut down at 3. And I started it, yeah, like at 9 or something. I mean, I was exhausted. I was like running out of music, and then but there's all these people that are on so many drugs and they just didn't want to stop, even though the lights were coming on and like people are sweeping up and like clearing out. And I just started putting on this total experimental whatever free jazz, and it killed the party. I mean, it worked. I think they all wanted to kill me, but I was like, well, I want to go home. Sorry. Um, so yeah, just put on some weird free jazz, and all these, very high people will be. I mean, maybe they'll love it. I don't know. There's always gonna be someone who loves it. There's always gonna be someone who's like, that was the best thing I've ever heard in my life, and then he'll be like, oh fuck, well I failed. I wanted everyone to hate me.
dude, that's so rad. Okay, well, tell you what, I got a couple more for you. Um,
Okay.
can what influence, if any, did the oh god, I'm gonna mispronounce it, but the Harajuku district have on your fashion sense?
Oh yeah. Um, wow, where are you finding all of this stuff? These are deep cuts. Just ChatGPT. Harajuku. I mean, I love Japan. I've been there a few times, and Harajuku is it's such a special place. I mean, I could just spend the hours and hours just sitting around and watching people go by and sipping on some matcha, and there's so much great like vintage shopping and thrifting, and yeah, people are so creative and fun. And I love it. I can't wait. I really want to go back to Japan. I hope it happens soon because it's just such a special place.
Yeah, I got two more for you. So if there's anything you're
Okay.
dying to get in, just try and force them into these
Okay, sure.
questions. But so these are the two I try to ask to everyone I interview just to because I love getting the kind of range of different answers. If you had had the opportunity, if you were there in the room, is there a song that you would have insisted needed to go on?
Mm. So okay, so this is the record that went on the Voyager, which is going to be in outer space in case some like alien life form in 2,000 years finds it and is like, oh, this is like human civilization. What would
Yeah,
it
the
be?
record was made so it would last a billion years. So
Whoa, cool. Okay, right. I think I do know what you're talking about. I forgot about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What if I had one song to put on there? Whoo. Um, I'm just gonna say because I've been listening to this over and over. One of my favorite singers out there right now is Bilal. I don't know if you know Bilal, but he's just incredible. And there's a song on his new record. It's called "Lay Around," and it just to me is it's like the perfect composition, I guess, if I would say, like production wise. It was written by Tone Whitfield, who's an amazing bass player, and this guy that goes by Flanfy, who's a great guitar player and producer. And it just kind of, to me, it like embodies everything that is like jazz with gospel with R&B, and it's beautiful. And it's like, and Bilal is such a great singer and so expressive. So I would put that on there. That'd be, yeah. It's probably also a baby making song. So like in a billion years, some alien's gonna put that song on and be like, okay, but now we gotta reproduce to this one. This is the one. Yeah.
All right, Sasha. Last one for you here. And this is the question I ask everyone at the end is what kind of art do you think the world needs more of right now?
Mm. Definitely AI art. It's the best. No, I'm joking. Um,
Yeah, seven
uh,
fingers and like just the 4/4
yeah,
pattern of like one
yeah,
note.
yeah. I don't know. I think that I think I feel like people need to kind of stop proving themselves or stop feeling like they have to prove themselves all the time. I think that's a very American trait that everything we do has to be virtuosic and this is the best and I'm going to go viral with this thing. And I think it's okay to just make art that is like a little more vulnerable and doesn't have to be super choppy or super perfect and clean and highly squeaky clean produced or whatever. It can just be like just raw and honest. So I think that's it. I think that's the art we need more.
We want to see you, Mr. Hammer.
What's the matter? Somebody pay their bill?
We want our money. Yes, money.
You want your money?
We want to get paid.
Oh, you want my money. Is that fair? Do I want your money? Suppose George Washington's soldiers had asked for money. Where would this country be today?
But they did ask.
And where's Washington? No, my friends, no. Money will never make you happy. And happy will never make you money. That might be a wise crack, but I doubt it.
We want our money.
I'll make you all a promise. If you'll all stick with me and work hard, we'll forget about money. Let's get together and we'll make a regular hotel out of this place. I'll put writing paper in the hotel, and next year, if you behave yourself, I'll put in envelopes. I'm going to put extra blankets free in all your rooms. There'll be no cover charge. Think of the opportunities here in Florida. 3 years ago, I came to Florida without a nickel in my pocket. Now I've got a nickel in my pocket.
That's all very well, Mr. Hammer, but we haven't been paid in 2 weeks, and we want our wages.
Wages? You want to be wage slaves? Answer me that. No, of course not. Well, what makes wage slaves? Wages. I want you to be free. Remember, there's nothing like liberty, except Collier's and the Saturday Evening Post. Be free, my friends, one for all and all for me, and me for you, and 3 for 5, and 6 for a quarter.